welcome to the 49ers First and 10 podcast, 10 minutes of the most up-to-date 49ers news first thing in the morning. I'm your host, Briana McDonald, and I'm with 49ers team reporter, Lindsey Pallares, and together we're going to break down the 49ers' initial 53-man roster for the 2024 season, introducing you to your 2024 guys, and getting into the nitty-gritty, going position by position. Lindsey, how you feeling?
Pretty good. Wanted to start and preface this with this is the roster as we had the list Tuesday afternoon. By later today, this could look a lot different and likely will because there's usually corresponding roster moves, practice squad announcements, all that coming. So keep that in mind as we're going through this list.
Yes, stay tuned to 49ers.com. We have all the information dropping immediately there. But let's dive into it. Let's go into quarterbacks. Our quarterbacks for this year, your QB1, Brock Purdy, also Joshua Dobbs and Brandon Allen. Tell us about the decision to keep 3 on the roster this year.
This is a decision the 49ers have gone with now for 3 straight years, and given that the NFL has implemented the emergency quarterback rule as of 2023, not surprising at all. And also, I wouldn't put too much stock into the order in which we're saying these names behind Brock Purdy. Neither Josh Dobbs or Brandon Allen have officially been named San Francisco's backup QB. That decision is going to come from head coach Kyle Shanahan, and we have not heard about it yet. One thing to note, Josh Dobbs is a newcomer to this group. He has done a fair amount of jumping around the NFL. This is, I believe, his 4th system in about a year's time. But he's really shown his athletic ability and his ability to pick up this very complicated offensive scheme in the opportunities that he saw in the preseason. For Brandon Allen, this is his 2nd year with the 49ers, and he's looking a lot more comfortable under center and in the system, and that's what we've heard from him throughout preseason and the training camp.
Yeah, with that QB2 spot still undefined, what have you seen from Josh Dobbs and Brandon Allen in the preseason?
You know, I think both are very capable quarterbacks, and also Shanahan did a really good job of splitting up the opportunities evenly. We saw a back and forth between Brandon Allen and Josh Dobbs over the course of the preseason. So more to come there. I'm assuming as we draw closer to the regular season, we're going to have that decision of who the 49ers backup QB is coming very soon.
Yep, very soon. Now staying in the offense, but moving on to our running backs and our one true fullback, Kyle Juszczyk. We've got Christian McCaffrey, Jordan Mason, Patrick Taylor Jr., and Isaac Guerendo. I want to highlight Christian McCaffrey heading into 2024. He's coming off of his Offensive Player of the Year season. What are your expectations for him this year?
I mean, I think you just want him to copy-paste, right?
Yeah.
One of the most successful seasons in Christian McCaffrey's, NFL career. And I think he was the NFL's rushing yards leader, Triple Crown winner, like you mentioned, Offensive Player of the Year. I mean, I don't think this is a stretch. Christian McCaffrey is the gold standard of running backs, and you just want to see more of that. Over the course of training camp in the preseason, he was dealing with a calf strain. I think my understanding is if there was a regular season game today, he would dress for it and play in it. But I think the 49ers want to be conservative and take care of, their all-pro running back. So we did see him beginning to rejoin practice and do some rehab on the sidelines. He hasn't practiced in a while, but that's always a sign that he's trending in the right direction. So, Faithful, I really wouldn't worry too much about him.
Let's shine some light on the newcomers. The rookie, Isaac Guerendo, and then the 4th-year pro, Patrick Taylor Jr. How do you think they made this squad?
Yeah, so I think the decision on both those guys, not very surprising either. We saw in a roster move earlier on Tuesday that Elijah Mitchell, who was a rushing yards leader in 2021, was placed on season-ending IR. That made room for Patrick Taylor Jr. and Isaac Guerendo. And Isaac Guerendo is a rookie, a 4th-round pick that really had limited opportunities in the preseason because of a hamstring injury. He got one preseason outing, and that was in that finale against the Raiders. And he shined both in the ground game and also special teams. I want to call attention to that 93-yard dynamic kickoff return. He owns a little piece of NFL history, so definitely well-deserving to that entire group.
Yeah, that was a special play by a special player. Now, Faithful, your 2024 wide receivers, Deebo Samuel Sr., Ronnie Bell, Brandon Ayuk, Ricky Pearsall, Jawan Jennings, Chris Conley, and Jacob Cowing. The first round pick, Ricky Pearsall, making the 53-man roster. We didn't get to see him much in the preseason, but what should we expect with him rejoining in the 2024 season?
Yeah, I think the expectation with any of San Francisco's draft picks, especially a first-round draft pick, one that they haven't had in a while, is that he's going to be an immediate contributor on this team. I know that there's definitely a desire on Ricky Pearsall to make those contributions. He's been dealing with kind of a lingering shoulder injury, so we'll see how the 49ers begin to really ease him back into practice. He made his return on Monday. He was in a blue non-contact jersey. So again, I think it's going to be a slow progression for him of just getting him back up to speed and full go as he still is working on that shoulder.
And looking at this list of receivers, who does stand out to you this year?
I mean, who doesn't, right? I think, we're going to continue to see more really good things out of Jawan Jennings. I think he's continued to build. He had that contract extension in the offseason, a really great showing in Super Bowl 58. Chris Conley has been a really reliable practice squad player for the 49ers that hit the elevation limit in 2023 because he was such a team player that they had to, activate him as injuries came about. And he's had a great camp. Jacob Cowing, another fourth-round pick for the 49ers that has been very successful in the preseason. He also only had 2 preseason outings because of also a hamstring injury. And the 49ers are looking to him as a possible option at the punt returner position. So really, there's multiple ways that you could see Jacob Cowing contributing in 2024.
All right, moving on to our tight ends. Lindsey, only 2 this year. George Kittle and Jake Tonjes. Tell me about that decision to keep only 2. I want to know your immediate reaction when you saw 2 on the list this year.
I wasn't expecting to only see 2 names on the list. Last year there were 4. This room looks completely different outside of George Kittle, right? He's your anchor, your veteran, your team captain. He's coming off a 1,000-plus yard season, had 6 touchdowns in 2023. Basically, you want him to copy and paste his season as well. But a huge congratulations to Jake Tonjes. He's a guy that spent last year, 2023, on the practice squad. And for all of our Bay Area people, this is somebody that you can easily root for. He is a Cal alum and also grew up in Los Gatos. So he's a local player. So huge, huge congratulations.
All right, next is the 49ers O-line faithful. You've got John Feliciano, Nick Zakelj, Jake Brendel, Aaron Banks, Colton McKivitz, Spencer Burford, Jalen Moore, and Dominic Pooney. Walk us through the lineup here. If week 1's game, Monday Night Football, was tomorrow, what would that starting line look like?
Yeah, so I think injuries definitely played a role in the group on the offensive line. We had Aaron Banks, who is typically the 49ers starting left guard. He suffered a broken pinky during training camp. So yeah, if the season were to start today, with all the information I've got, we would start with left tackle Jalen Moore. Then we would have Nick Zakelj at left guard, Jake Brendel at center. Then at right guard, Dominic Pooney. And then at right tackle, we would also have Colton McKivitz. That's the starting lineup we saw in the 3rd preseason game. Again, I am not Kyle Shanahan. That lineup could look totally different based on information that I don't know. But if we're going off of the lineup that we saw against the Raiders, it would be those 5.
And how good was Dominic Pooney during the preseason? Tell us just how amazing he was during those first 3 preseason games.
Yeah, he was a preseason standout for sure. I think one of the biggest contributors from that 2024 draft class. Started at right guard in all 3 games, did not give up a single sack. So again, huge congratulations to a rookie that's definitely making a name for himself early.
Yeah, this is a special day for a lot of the rookies and newcomers to the team this year. But moving on to defense, we'll start up front at the D-line. We've got Robert Beal Jr., Leonard Floyd, Kevin Givens, Sam Okayanu, Jordan Elliott, Yetur Gross-Matos, Nick Bosa, Javon Hargrave, and Malik Collins. Now, free agency was a big time for the D-line during the 49ers offseason. Tell me just how much the Niners invested up front in that D-line.
I think D-line is where the 49ers focused their efforts for that very first wave of free agency. We saw them add Leonard Floyd, Malik Collins, Jordan Elliott, Yetur Gross-Matos. this was a really big point of emphasis for the 49ers, who were looking to up their run defense in this coming season. I think there's high expectations for Leonard Floyd as being the bookend for Nick Bosa. And he has just a great history of being available. This guy has not missed a regular season game in about 6 seasons. I believe the streak is 108 games. So if you're looking somebody that's going to be ready to contribute, it's Leonard Floyd, proven veteran. And I think he's averaging just under 10 sacks a season for the last 4 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. So we've got the most change to this group, I think, from 2023 into 2024, and probably the longest list out of all the position groups. So how important is it to keep that D-line fresh throughout the season?
Yeah, I think that is a really important part of how the 49ers play their D-line. They like to rotate players in and out to make sure that everyone's fresh, not just throughout the season, but in game. So you're very much going to see your starting lineup get refreshed mid-game. Make sure everyone stays, in good health for the duration of that football game. So you're going to see all 9 of these players contribute.
All right, now moving on to our linebackers. We've got Curtis Robinson, Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles, Tatum Bethune, D. Winters, Fred Warner, and Devondre Campbell Sr. Fred Warner headlines this group. Tell me about his leadership and how he's guided this group throughout training camp in the preseason, now looking forward to 2024.
Yeah, so Fred Warner is someone that we actually didn't see suit up a ton in the preseason, but like you mentioned, he is very much the leader of the linebacker group, and also I would say quarterback of the defense, right? He is the one giving pregame speeches. He gets everyone fired up. And you've heard a number of these players that are in this linebacker group that Fred Warner, Drake Greenlaw as well, are the gold standard for linebackers, right? They want to model their play, their physicality after someone like Fred Warner, who is a unanimous All-Pro linebacker, one of only 3 players in the NFL that earned that unanimous title. So again, just someone that is a great person to lead the room and really embraces that role.
Yeah, and with the linebackers, we've got a mix of veterans. We got the leader, Fred Warner, some rookies in here, and then also some free agent additions. So what do those newcomers bring to this group, like Devondre Campbell Sr., like Tatum Bethune?
Yeah, I think they just bring fresh energy. Devondre Campbell is a veteran. He was an All-Pro in 2021. He comes over to the Bay from the Green Bay Packers. He brings a lot of experience with him. I also wanted to highlight Curtis Robinson, who has been a really reliable practice squad player for the 49ers in the past. He makes his debut to the 53-man roster. Tatum Bethune, really big contributor in the preseason, a 7th-round pick for the 49ers, and he's making this roster. And from what I was looking at the defensive stats, he actually led the 49ers in preseason tackles. So another huge congratulations to another member of that 2024 draft class.
Yeah, something about those 49ers late-round picks.
Yeah.
Always making waves. All right, now moving on to the cornerbacks, we've got Charvarius Ward, Ambry Thomas, Isaac Yiadom, Darrell Luter Jr., Renardo Green, and our defensive back, Diomedor Lenore. Now, with Nick Sorensen coming in and leading the whole defense, he's got a special eye on the cornerbacks and defensive backs. What do you think his goal is with this group heading into 2024?
I think one of the things that this group in general, because Nick Sorensen, former passing game coordinator, defensive passing game coordinator for the 49ers, I think all of these players are super familiar with him. Part of the reason that he was selected as the new defensive coordinator is because of that familiarity and also the ability to tie the back end of the defense to the defensive front. He brings a wealth of knowledge with him, but I think he just wants this defensive back group, this cornerbacks group, to get after the ball. He wants takeaways. That's something that we have seen him and several other coaches on the defensive side of the ball preach, and the 49ers are very good at it. So more to come.
You think that's been in Renardo Green's ear throughout training camp in the preseason and maybe why he made this squad?
Absolutely. I think for all of these cornerbacks, we've seen them pick up those preseason turnovers and then also those interceptions during training camp practices. So definitely a good energy with this group, and we've seen it all throughout camp.
Amazing. Now, staying in the defensive backfield, but moving on to the safeties, we've got Jair Brown, Talanoa Hufanga, George Odom, and Malik Mustafa. Any of the latest updates on Talanoa Hufanga and what his injury status has been like?
Yeah, so Talanoa Hufanga is working back from an ACL injury he suffered in Week 11 of the 2023 season. He's definitely trending in the right direction. The latest update we got is that he's been medically cleared to take the next steps in the process. The 49ers are definitely being conservative and smart with him. He's been allowed to be eased into practices, but hasn't made that return just yet. So we'll hear more from head coach Kyle Shanahan what the plan is for him. Either way, we've seen Jair Brown really step up in his absence. He's a second-year player that is definitely looking to take on a bigger role in 2024.
Now, what are some storylines that jump out to you when you look at this list of safeties?
Oh, man, I don't know. I mean, you've got a physical tackler in Malik Mustafa. We've seen that energy from him all of preseason, all of training camp. I think George Odom is somebody definitely to watch out for. He has really made a name for himself on the 49ers as a special teams ace, but he's also been working in tandem with Jair Brown all preseason, all of training camp, with that starting defense. So he's a player to keep an eye out on.
All right, finally, last but not least, our specialists. You've got your punter, Mitch Wishnowsky, your kicker, Jake Moody, and your long snapper, Tabor Pepper. Mr. Reliables of the 49ers, tell us about Moody and entering his sophomore season.
Yeah, I think Jake Moody, you're going to just continue to see him become more comfortable in his role. This is really just specialist trio back together. Really no surprises here. Just wanting more of what Jake Moody gave us in his rookie season. He made 60 of 61 extra point attempts and 21 of 25 field goal attempts in the 2023 regular season. Mitch Wishnowsky, reliable. Tabor Pepper, super reliable. So we are just looking for more good things from our specialist trio.
All right, we've got 3 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, 7 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, 8 offensive linemen, 9 defensive linemen, 6 linebackers, 6 cornerbacks, 4 safeties, 3 specialists. That makes 53 men on the initial 53-man roster. Faithful, thank you so much for tuning in today. Lindsey, thanks for joining me in breaking down this roster. But subscribe to First and 10 for more 49ers updates and stay tuned.